Good afternoon, Miami and the world. Delia Peruguera from Florida with take number 10 of the Secret Summit International with 49 presenters, and I'm proud to say that I'm one of the 49. Tomorrow is my day. Well, I will do it live. So practice number 10 today, take number 10. And I ask you, who is the superhero or the hero within you? Who is that hero that uses the 6 superpowers to ignite your desire, to find your goal, to find your purpose in this world by using imagination, intuition, will, memory, reasoning, and perception? And let me take you for a ride. At the age of 5, 13, 20, and above. And here we are at 5, sitting in a 500 1958 Ford Farline in the island of Cuba, cruising with parents and sister from the east to the west, visiting relatives, grandparents, cousins, aunts and uncles for the holidays, Christmas, summer vacations, birthday parties, eating ice cream from the ice cream man, playing games, jumping rope, etc. Life was very, very much an adventure till 1959 in January. The affluent island changed their lifestyle. And that life of affluence, fun, good food, music, changed for a land of scarcity, at least in the girl's eyes. And the mother went frantic and got 4 passports to flee the island to the land of the brave and the free, the United States. The intention was to leave in 1960, but that did not materialize. Instead, they endured communism for 7 years. And the first 3.5 years of those 7, the girls were at home with a tutor, getting the basics from elementary school, since the private education schools sent the nuns and priests outside the island. Religion was not allowed to be practiced. 4 years later, from 1959, 4 years later, 63, 1964, the girls have to enter public education under Fidel Castro's indoctrination, or else they can't get shoes. That was the rule. So off they go every morning to school, but they still enjoy the summers at the beach in Varadero, Santa Maria del Mar, Jibacoa, Guanabo, with family and relatives for 3 months, until the year 1967 hits, and they all have visas and passports to flee the island via Madrid, Spain, with 2 stops, one in Portugal and one in Paris, to final destination, Madrid, Spain. And after flying for 19 hours, they landed in Azores Island, and a big breakfast of eggs and bacon was awaiting all the exiles in that airplane, to which they turned their heads the other way, for they were sick and tired of eating eggs. And the parents to the girls say, "At least eat the toast, eat the bread, for we don't know where our next meal is coming from." You see, in 1967, when you fled the island of Cuba, you were not allowed to bring any cash, gold, gems out of the country. The only thing you could bring was yourself, with the desire for freedom, a change of clothes, 6 changes of clothes, and the one you had on. And that was the story. We go back into the airplane after the big breakfast, but first we stop by the windows in the airport, these little shops that carry souvenirs, keychains, wallets, pens, name it. And the older girl, now 13, the one that was 5 is now 13, she's mesmerized with the products at the window case. And the father touches her shoulder and says, hey, do not worry. You will get those someday. You will be able to buy them someday. And the girl looked at him and thought, wow, 19 hours before, her birthday present from her grandfather on her 13th birthday, a week before, was confiscated by the government. You see, he had given her a 22 karat point fountain pen because she was a writer. She was a writer since the age of 7. They went back into the airplane, flying for 5 more hours. And 1 hour before they land, the beautiful blonde, bob shag, blue-eyed flight attendant, tall and beautiful, comes out with a huge tray of Kaiser roll ham and cheese sandwiches, to which the father takes a plastic bag and proceeds to put sandwiches until he cannot fit one more in there. I assume there were 8, 10, who knows? The flight attendant looked at him, as beautiful as she was, and said, sir, it's 1 per person. My father looked at her and smiled, made a knot on the bag, and stuck the bag between his coat and his suit. Dad, what are you doing? Said the older girl. He kept on laughing. Next, we land in Paris. Not a recollection of the airport, for it was not Orly, but we were transported in a bus going through the city to Orly to catch the next plane, Iberia, via Madrid, Spain. And on the way to the airport, there were stands and stands and more stands of fruit. And the Cubans on the bus were experiencing freedom, affluence, and they were mesmerized with the fruits outside in the city. And they were screaming, apples, pears, bananas, grapes, uvas, manzanas, peras, plátanos. They could not believe what they were seeing, for they had not seen fruits since 1960. And this was 67, as I told you. A very cold day on the 9th of February, 1967. We exited the bus to gather our luggage, and the father tells the older girl, the 13-year-old, go get a cart. She goes inside the airport. She looks at the train of the carts. There's coins that you have to deposit before the carts could be released. And she comes out and says, Dad, you need coins to get the carts. We just have to pick them up. We cannot get a cart. And then she looks to the left. And there's a French woman boarding a taxi who had just left a cart free on the curb. And before the girl can talk, the father picks it up and puts all the luggage on it. They were a happy family at the end, the 4 of them. They had their luggage secure, they were in a free country, and they had sandwiches to eat and a flight to their destination, Madrid, Spain. A whole day went through, almost 12 hours, until they land the next plane, Iberia, at 12:30 a.m., midnight. And the flight is quite fast. Nothing like the 20-something hours on the other flight where they had 2 stops. This flight, before they know it and they adjust their seatbelts, they're landing in Barajas, Madrid. And to the older girl's surprise, this stranger embraces the father and puts a $5 bill at 2 o'clock in the morning on his left pocket. And she had to smile, for this was not expected. Then she finds out that the man was a friend of her grandfather's in Cuba. He was managing a boarding house for exiles in Madrid, but the house was full capacity. So the man named Cornelio tells the father, I will find a place for you to sleep with your family tonight. Immediately, another friend appears next to my dad. His name is Raimundo. And he says, Miguel, come over to my house to celebrate your freedom before you go to the boarding house. Let me take you. So we go in his car to his house. We celebrate it with Coca-Cola, potato chips, asparagus, sardines. Who knows? I don't even remember how many things we had. The adults had beer, wine, and some hard liquor. And at 4 in the morning, we were transported to our new home, a flat in Madrid without heat. We endured the cold weather for 2 weeks until we found a better place with heating system. In the meantime, the father went to work at a grocery store unloading trucks, which was very hard labor and he could hardly endure it. So by the 3rd week, his friend comes back and says, there's another opportunity. If you relocate, you can move to Valencia if you want to represent or promote this company that sells plastics, ProPlast plastics, to drugstores around the country. And they haven't penetrated Valencia, so if you want to go there, you have the job. Go for the interview. So my father took the job and he relocated, and we were separated for 5 months. The girls and the mom cooked 1 meal a day, for that's all they could afford, and the second meal, which was lunch, came from a public diner where Cubans used to go. Thousands of them in 1967. The line would go around the block, and we waited patiently for an hour to get in and get a plate of beans or legumes. Life was good, for we were free, and we spent our time reading, my mother selling Avon, my sister playing on the street with friends her age, she was 8, and the older daughter reading novels, watching Bewitched, among other shows, and getting acquainted with the 4 sisters that lived inside that boarding house. They were all in their 20s, so that's how life went until the father sent for them and they went to Valencia. They had an apartment that he secured with electricity, groceries for the next year, and they were happy, for they had freedom. The mother tutored at home students. The girls read books, helped with the grocery shopping, helped with the laundry, and life went on for a year. Now is February 1968, and the Fallas come to Valencia, which is a festivity before Lent, and the Valencians, they build sculptures out of old props. They cover them with paper mache and they paint them. And every night for 15 days before March or Lent, they burn 1 sculpture per day until 15th day. And people dance on the streets and they eat and they drink. Strangers. They do all kinds of things that are fun. And after the 15 days, the news are broken to the older girl. You are going to the United States as a student by yourself to live with your mother's relatives. Once you're there, you will claim us as your family, and it could take from 6 to 3 years for us to get there. We want you to go because it's the only opportunity that we have to go to the United States. We do not have immediate family. How come my sister cannot come with me? Well, only 1 passport, only 1 visa. That's all we can do. And if you don't do it, none of us will be able to go, for we don't have immediate relatives. So the girl thought and reflected and said, what is my next step? Mother packed her clothing, belongings, purchased a couple of presents for the family here in Miami. And off they went on March of 1968 via Madrid from Valencia. 6 hours by car. Got to the airport, they put her on the airplane, and she flew for 7.5 hours until they landed in LaGuardia. And once in LaGuardia, the nun comes up to her and says, do you have your luggage? No, I don't have my luggage. But what did you bring? A big box with the Virgin, 36 inches tall, a Spanish guitar in a case, and my luggage. Where is it? Well, let's look. And the room was scattered with luggage, packages, name it, you could hardly walk. And all I had was 5 minutes to board on the bus in order not to miss the plane. Look, found the Virgin, look, found the suitcase, look, found the guitar. Now one of the suitcases, people goes and puts them in the bus. I board the bus and I go to JFK. And by the time I get there, it's already 6:30. My plane left for Miami. So I am on delay for the next plane at 11:30 at night, all alone at 14, in a huge airport lobby with one soul in sight, a bartender to the left, in a beautiful encased bar made out of wood and stainless steel. The place was pristine. I sat on the sofa, drank a Coca-Cola, and waited for my ride. Soon after 5 hours, a nun appears and says, "It's your time. Your flight for Miami Beach." Got up, put myself in the plane, and landed in Miami at 2:30 in the morning. The family was frantic, for they could not believe that I did not show up at 9 p.m. as I was supposed to. Last time they saw me, I was 4 years old. So as soon as they see me, they say, "Same face, different body. She's tall, she's big. She's a woman." They took my belongings and we drove to Miami Beach through the 36 Expressway. I had never seen so much water on each side, mass of water, with the lights reflecting on the right and the left from Miami Beach on that beautiful water. I was mesmerized. I felt I was in enchanted land, and I was. And I gave thanks. Yes, I was far away from my family, but I had a beautiful family now here in the United States, embracing me, taking me in, giving me refuge and love and support in my new country of freedom. The next morning, it was business. Paperwork to fill out, school interview at the Public Education Center, test to see the level that I would enter in. And 5 months went by, and I was in public education in a school of more than 6,000 students in middle school. What a clash in culture. Not speaking the language, not sounding like them, although I looked and blend in physically, but I did not speak a word of English. My favorite class was a Spanish class when I went there to read novels at the end of the day. The rest, I was just listening and taking in the language. Time passed, and my parents show up 5 months later, and the family secures an apartment, and we live happy until the third person comes into our lives, which was a joy, my third sister. And we buy a house all the way in the South. The older girl works at a supermarket, cashier and assistant manager, for 6 years while she goes to college and finishes high school. Or finishes high school and go to college. And life goes on, and upon her graduation, she meets her first husband and they get married. Travel to Germany because he was on a mission, 5 years into the marriage. And their first child is born over there. They come back to the States and they buy this beautiful home, have the second child. Life is good, but the marriage drifted apart. So 25 years down the line, teaching school and living the marriage life, retirement package explodes. And you know what that is, the big D, divorce. Took it, even though I didn't want to, accepted it, even though it was not my cup of tea, and had to move on because life changes when you least expect it. And I was happy as a mother. I was happy as a sister, as a daughter, as a friend, but not as an ex-wife. So I knew that there was more. And the family said, go online and see if you can find companionship in a Christian site. But to my surprise, what I found was my first networking company in 2005. And I worked hard, even though I had no idea what I was doing. I did all the events for a year. And when I didn't make the expected money that I wanted to make, I shipped out and went back into the classroom for 6 years to retire early at 58 and find my second company, which I worked super hard for 4 years. And then the third company, more like a consumer with 2 affiliates under me. And then Sharon comes into the picture. She says, this is it. You have to join me. See, I had met Sharon in 2005 in Puerto Rico in our first company. She was in a different team. And now she has a new opportunity. And my husband says, you got to join her. So after 6 months of saying no, I jumped in and joined the present company, which has brought me to Sharon. Sharon has brought to me Rhonda Burr Parker and Sean G. Murphy. This is the reason why I'm here presenting my story. Because first, we went to the morning calls. We became raving fans of Sean, my husband and I. Later, Sean created the Secret Sauce Academy to be better in the marketplace, to show our value, and many other things like the soft talk, many other things that are beneficial in personal growth and development and sales and marketing. And then he says, we're going to do a summit as the culmination of your training in Secret Sauce. You are one of the founders. Would you like to speak? And I said, absolutely. I would love to share one of my stories. By the way, this one is from my book, which will be soon published. I want to wish everyone here, Sharon, Rhonda, Sean, and everybody else in this community and outside the community, a huge thank. Because without you, I would not be here. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if you see something here that resonates with you, by all means, contact me through my email or through this platform. I will close with a quote from Ria Kawakubo about courage. Courage is the capacity to face life in a brave and fearless way. Courage is taking risks. It's about letting your imagination soar, willing to stand alone, and willing to stand out as you stand alone. But you see, you're really never alone. Because even though you spend time when you decide to take a step forward and the people that know you do not take the step with you, you find others that do, and this is what has happened to me. My community stands by me. I encourage you to join us and to go through this experience together. May God bless you always. Bye, Delia from Miami.